May the slicer not defecate on your face.
Unless you're into that and it doesn't hurt anybody else.
Unless you have a green ticket, then you're okay to catch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Mondo Rico!
I have heard of the Snallygaster, and I have an idea of what a Snallygaster might look like. I did do a real cursory look. That's my angle. You do the deep dive.
You splash at the side of the pool.
Right, that's right. I'm Mr. Cursory. I'm that horrible sparkling water that has a hint of something.
You're the lime spritzed water.
Or peach or whatever flavor that is on sale.
Bob LaCroix.
Yeah, LaCroix, exactly, yeah. Speaking of weird water stories, so my wife is trying to drink more water, and we've always bought bottled water, which is horrible, I know, for the environment and everything. But we've always had a well for the most part, and so we didn't drink the water all the time because it's a well, and so sometimes it's not so good. And my son had commented, never buy Ice Mountain water because it tastes like crap. And my wife is like, oh, you guys, water is just fine as long as it's clean. So she's now been trying to drink water. And all we were down to was the Ice Mountain. And she drank it. She's like, this is the most horrible tasting stuff. And she goes on and on. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're making us drink it for years.
So we sent somebody to the liquor store to buy us a case of beer when we were too young to do so in the college dorm. And they came back with a Rhinelander beer. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but I mean, here's a college kid who wants nothing else but to drink a lot of beer. I said, I can't.
This is so bad.
This is so bad. And I really want to have multiple beers. I am not going to have any more of this Rhinelander.
This is the runoff from Oktoberfest 10 years ago.
What does Rhinelander mean in German? I don't know. It probably is runoff, yeah.
I think that's rhino piss.
That's what Snallygaster is.
Der Snallygaster.
There you go. You get your field guide voice working.
Einstein, Einstein. There you go.
I was thinking Colonel Clank or Sergeant Schultz, perhaps.
I see nothing.
Hogan's Heroes was a popular American sitcom that aired from 1965 to 1971, set in a German prisoner of war camp during World War II. The show featured the bumbling German commandant Colonel Klink and Sergeant Schultz, who was known for his catchphrase, I see nothing, I know nothing, whenever he encountered the Allied prisoners' obvious sabotage activities. The sergeant's willful blindness became one of television's most memorable running gags of the era.
Oh my goodness, the Snallygaster.
All right, are you ready with your, I'm assuming, German accented voice?
I don't know. I thought maybe it'd be too on the nose to do German.
I don't know. Later on, as we get deeper into the field guide, you're going to have to mix it up more. But some of these are like slow pitch down the center of the plate.
Okay. In the hills of 18th century Maryland, German immigrants once spoke of a terrifying creature they called the Schneller Geist, or quick spirit. Eventually colloquialized as Snallygaster, it was described as a dragon-like beast, half reptile and half bird. With enormous wings, a beak lined with razor-sharp teeth, octopus-like tentacles, and a single glowing eye in the center of its forehead. Sounds like my third-grade teacher. This bloodthirsty creature was said to swoop silently from the sky, snatching livestock and humans for its prey. The legend remained largely local folklore until 1909, when a series of newspaper reports thrust the Snallygaster into the national spotlight, turning a regional mythological monster into one of America's most infamous cryptids.
Is this the first cryptid we've covered where there's just a singular one? I'm trying to think back. We did Dogman, we did the worm.
Well, we did the Mothman.
Oh, right, Mothman. Yeah, he was singular.
People don't talk about multiple Mothmen necessarily, but
you think they should?
Well, I think it's like Bigfoot. It's not just one.
Okay. Multiple Mothmen.
Yeah, it's multiple. It's just they happen to kind of look similar.
Flying cryptid creatures.
Flying humanoid things.
They hang out on bridges.
Yeah, in old TNT explosive areas.
Mm-hmm.
They're attracted by the smell of nitroglycerin.
We had Doris Stokes, too. They're just singular Doris.
Well, but she was a person, though.
Oh, okay.
She's not a cryptid, right?
No, I guess she's a human. We would consider humans cryptids. I think they're pretty well recognized.
I was in Australia hanging outside the, what was it, Denny Lane show or whatever? And
Don Lane.
this cryptid, what?
Don Lane?
Oh, Don Lane. I keep getting, his brother Denny had a show across the street.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, this cryptid came out. Doris Stokes. She inhabited the talk shows in Australia.
Yeah, she used to hang out in the rafters of the Sydney Opera House.
That's right.
Float down to the stage.
Oh my God, Doris Stokes.
4 out of 5 pale crawlers recommend Mondo Frico.
All right. Are you ready to learn a little bit more about the Snallygaster?
A Snallygaster.
Quiz.
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 When the assistants handed me these quiz questions, I'm like, this feels different. This feels different than other quizzes. And so we'll see how you do relative to some of the others.
I'm interested how you got an AI hand.
How the AI handed it to me.
Yeah, how they did that. You got like a whole arm or just a hand or?
As many fingers as it took to hand over the quiz question.
I wonder if AI people only have 3 fingers like they do in cartoons.
Maybe. One day we'll know.
It's probably already happening.
I want a robot dog.
They have those.
They do have those. I've never experienced one in real life.
Nope.
Okay. What symbol does folklore say was commonly painted on barns? This would be in Appalachia area of Maryland to protect against the Snallygaster.
Oh, gosh.
What symbol? Was it the brought in brew, a symbol representing a sausage floating in a beer stein? Was it crossed iron harvesting sickles?
Doesn't sound German.
Was it the face of the sun? Was it the face of the sun? That was my attempt at a German accent.
You will tell me.
Or was it a 7-pointed star, also apparently known as a heptagram and a septagram? And I don't know why.
As known as both.
Yeah. I didn't look into that. I almost looked into that, but I didn't. I got lazy.
Wait a minute.
Rotten brew.
If you just listen for a moment, it'll tell us.
The 7-pointed stars painted on barns have 2 names because they come from different linguistic roots. Heptagram uses the Greek prefix hepta, meaning 7, and septagram uses the Latin prefix sept, which also means 7. Both prefixes are paired with the same Greek suffix, gram. So heptagram and septagram are both correct and refer to the exact same symbol.
Well, thank you, whatever AI voice just came up. That makes sense. So, brought and brew, crossed iron harvesting sickles, the face of the sun, or a 7-pointed star.
There's no obvious goofy one this time.
You don't think a sausage floating in a beer stein is goofy?
Have you been to Germany? I'm guessing not.
9.
You literally can buy a sausage with a beer stein hooked to it.
What? You buy a sausage that has a hook to hang your beer on it?
No, you go to a store and you get like some type of processed meat, like a big Slim Jim, but it's not a Slim Jim. And you get a free mug.
A free mug?
A free beer mug.
Free mug with every sausage?
Yes. Well, there's a huge sausage. Let me put that out there. Yeah. And you get a free beer mug. It's like zip tied to it. So having seen that myself and thought about buying one, which I didn't, thank God.
Yeah, that was a...
Yeah, it doesn't seem quite as ridiculous to me. I'm going to go with a 7-pointed star.
That is correct.
Wow.
7-pointed stars, also called heptagrams or septagrams, and now we know why, were believed to keep the Snallygaster at bay. It's said that many of these protective symbols can still be seen painted on old barns throughout Frederick County, Maryland today, a lasting reminder of the terror this creature once inspired in local communities.
Now, I've been through Maryland. I don't know if I've been through Frederick County, but I stopped at a Dairy Queen in Maryland once. I did not see a 7-pointed star.
Probably had a fresh coat of paint.
They had dilly bars, so.
Dilly bar and a beer stein?
No beer steins, oddly enough.
You know what I used to get at Dairy Queen when I was a kid is they would have the MLB ball caps, the hard caps with the sundaes in them.
Oh, yeah. We got lots of those. We used to have lots of
Did
those.
you? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I wish my head was small enough to wear the helmet.
Well, we had a Chihuahua, and I was sticking on the Chihuahua and not so happy about it.
I would imagine, yeah.
But for a few moments, it was like, this is the best thing ever. And then that was the end of that.
I have a picture of me and one of my college roommates, and I had taken my cat and inserted my cat through a coat sleeve so that only his head was sticking out of the end of the sleeve, and I put my Chicago Cubs Dairy Queen Sunday baseball hat on the cat.
So you're torturing this poor cat.
I don't know. I look at his face in the picture. He didn't seem to mind too much.
Hi, I'm Robert from State of the Unknown podcast. You're listening to Mondo Frico.
Okay, back on track here. Quiz question. According to folklore, what is the Snallygaster's arch enemy? Is it the Jersey Devil, the Dewey-O, the Tallywhacker, or the Mothman?
Sworn enemy.
Arch enemy.
Arch
I'm not
enemy.
sure if you could swear. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go with number 2, the Dewey-O.
The Dewey-O is described as a mammalian biped with wolf-like features but human stance and stature.
Oh, it's like a dog man.
It does sound very dogman-esque.
Yeah.
According to local folklore, the Dewey-O and Snallygaster have been mortal enemies since the early settlement of the Middleton Valley, engaging in vicious encounters throughout the region's history. The Dewey-O. So yeah, I've never heard that term either.
No.
But if you folks are interested in hearing more about our take on the dog man or dog men or dog mans, what is it, one of the basement tapes, probably the first or second basement tape episode we did on the dog man.
Dog man, yeah. The Beast of Bray Road.
Very good. 2 for 2.
Yeah, these are the easy ones, though. You're going to throw some kind of curveball.
Unless you know something a little bit about the Snallygaster, some of these are going to trip you up, I bet.
Yeah.
Okay, in the early 20th century, the Snallygaster legend was maliciously used for what purpose? As a cover for illegal moonshining operations, as a racist tactic to control and intimidate black communities, to discourage settlement in the Appalachian Mountains, or to sell sea monkeys, pet rocks, and X-ray glasses.
Oh, we love the sea monkeys. Brine shrimp. It was so devastating to find out that's all they were.
Wasn't it? They didn't have the little crowns.
Yeah, they didn't look like that at all. Yeah, my brother got some. Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
I think we got some. I'm not sure they ever hatched.
Yeah.
Sea monkeys were one of the most iconic comic book advertisements, appearing in virtually every comic book published. The ads depicted a charming family of tiny underwater humanoids, complete with crowns on their heads, webbed feet, and facial expressions. These frolicsome pets were marketed as magical creatures that would hatch instantly when you added water, for just $1.25 plus shipping. The reality, however, was far less enchanting. Sea monkeys were simply brine shrimp, tiny crustaceans that looked nothing like the smiling, crown-wearing humanoids in the advertisements. Instead of instant pets, buyers received dried eggs that took 24 hours just to hatch into what looked like microscopic swimming shrimp. No smiles, no crowns, just tiny aquatic creatures doing a hideous backstroke, as one disappointed customer put it.
Maybe this is a little bit too, historically speaking, a little too on the nose, but I think it's probably to keep slaves in check because the Snallygaster's got a lot of German history behind it.
Yeah, racist tactic to control and intimidate black communities. So this is the early 1920s. Newspaper stories attempted to instill fear and deter the freedom of black communities and their political involvement by claiming that the monster targeted African Americans. The articles from the Middletown Valley Register were later revealed to be fabricated to increase newspaper sales. Yeah.
So they lied about it to make it.
They made up fake stories and they used these stories to try to suppress.
No one does that these days.
Never.
Never.
No. Every media channel, 100% accurate and unbiased.
Yeah. Well, that's doubly sad. I feel like the Snallygaster's a racist, and then turns out he was set up
Now, it was very clear when the AI assistants with their 3 fingers handed over these questions. They said this is the only instance in which it sort of aligned itself, but it was significant enough where I felt we had to cover it as one of our quiz questions.
Wow.
When I'm feeling freaky, I listen to Mondo Freako.
All right. According to a bizarre 1932 newspaper story, how did the Snallygaster meet its end? Was it hunted and killed by President Theodore Roosevelt? Was it slain by its mortal enemy, the Dueo? Was it repeatedly struck in the groin by ball lightning?
Could happen.
Or did it fall into a vat of moonshine and dissolve?
Now, my gut tells me to go with the Dueo again, so I think I'm going to go with that.
Ooh, your first incorrect response. According to the story, the Snallygaster was overcome by moonshine fumes and fell from the sky into a 2,500-gallon vat of illegal alcohol during Prohibition. Prohibition agents supposedly arrived soon after and destroyed both the beast's carcass and the evidence of the moonshine operation, a conveniently tidy end that eliminated all proof of the creature's existence. Note that destroying illegal alcohol operations was not unusual for these Prohibition agents.
That's a very weird one there. Hey, wait, we got a grain bin full of alcohol. Hope that Snallygaster doesn't come flying over it. He may just fall into it. You think they made it up, that one, maybe?
Yeah, I'm going to guess this one's probably a fabricated story as well.
Was it the demon alcohol that got the Snallygaster?
They did not apply any kind of motive to the kooky 1932 story.
Yeah, that's a weird one, though. There's nothing better than the versus, you know what I mean? Everybody's like Panther versus a bear. Who's going to win? So,
Well, or Bigfoot and Dogman.
Yeah, Bigfoot and Dog. Yeah, exactly. So, Dueo? What is it? Dueo? Dueo. I got to remember to sing it. Dueo.
Dueo come in, you got to go home.
That's right. They're leaving out the part where the Dueo threw him into the giant vat of moonshine.
Maybe the Prohibition agents were in cahoots with the Dueo.
Could be.
And so the Dueo's the one that committed the crime, and so the agents covered up the crime scene.
Maybe, yeah.
That'd be a great movie scene where the Dueo and the Snallygaster are battling on the edge of the 2,500-gallon vat of alcohol.
That's right.
All right. Which modern author famously incorporated the Snallygaster into their popular fictional universe? Was it H.P. Lovecraft in his At the Mountains of Madness story? Was it ex-rock and roller and recently published children's author Ozzy Osbourne in his book titled Let's Bite the Heads Off Bats, Baby? Was it J.K. Rowling's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them?
Ooh.
Or was it Stephen King's The Tommyknockers?
You threw in that J.K. Rowling one, and I could see that happening, you know, given Hagrid's penchant for weird animals.
Well, then Rowling's been a bit of a controversial character.
Yeah, I think she was a writer for that newspaper back in the...
She could have been, exactly.
I'm probably going to be wrong, but I'm going to go with the... I'm blanking on what the first one was now.
H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness.
Snallygaster sounds very Lovecraftian.
It was actually Just Kidding Rowling, J.K. Rowling.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Dang it.
Okay. What recent development has helped preserve the Snallygaster's legend while also addressing its complex history? Is it a scientific paper that reevaluates the historical sightings, a Hollywood blockbuster movie about the creature, the establishment of a dedicated museum, or Season 1, Episode 7 of the Mondo Freako podcast?
I was thinking Bobcat Goldthwait is making the Snallygaster movie because, you know, he's known for that kind of stuff.
Oh, he likes cryptids?
Oh, yeah. He made a Bigfoot movie called Bluff Creek. It's not very good. Sorry, Bobcat. This is a tough one. I'm going to say the museum.
The opening of the American Snallygaster Museum in 2021 by, I believe, cryptozoologist Sarah Cooper. I want to attach that tag to her, but you are right.
Mondo Freako.
According to the 1909, now, as we know, fake newspaper reports, what sound did the Snallygaster make? Was it a sound like a screaming banshee? A sound like a locomotive whistle? A sound like a roaring lion? Or a sound like hawk patooey?
Hawk patooey. I don't think it's the lion. I'm trying to eliminate here. I don't think it's the banshee. And I don't think it's the hawk patooey. What was the second one again?
Locomotive whistle.
Well, I think it's a locomotive whistle.
It was indeed. Screeches like a locomotive whistle.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Pure guess.
This industrial comparison gave the monster a distinctly modern mechanical quality that set it apart from traditional folklore creatures. And I've got a quick description to follow, just to paint a nice picture of this fella. Apparently, the 1909 faked stories borrowed a lot from the Jersey Devil sightings. So it kind of used a little bit of Jersey Devil ingredients. Given all the folklore and the stories, probably a little bit of that fabricated stuff stirred into this Snallygaster gumbo. They say the Snallygaster is generally described as a terrifying winged beast, often depicted as a chimera, which is a multi or animal conglomeration of a thing.
Hence the J.K. Rowling connection.
Part bird and part reptile or dragon-like in appearance. It is consistently said to possess a metallic beak lined with razor-sharp teeth. It also has large, sometimes not just large, but enormous wings. It's known for its ability to fly silently and swiftly, swooping down to snatch its prey, which can include livestock and even humans. The early stories claim that it also sucked the blood of its victims. And then we've got some of the optional, not always reported characteristics. One of the more interesting ones was tentacles. Many accounts describe the Snallygaster as having octopus-like tentacles that are often said to hang from its neck or trail behind like streamers and can be retracted. It is also said to have a single glowing eye in the center of its forehead or head. Glowing is interesting, right?
Yeah, that's weird.
Battery operated. I guess with a metallic beak, it'd be possible to have a battery operated eye.
Yeah, it used one of those big square batteries like the old ones, you know.
With the little springy tops.
Little springy tops on them, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What was the name for those batteries? It had to have a name. I was just like, the square battery.
The large, rectangular batteries you're describing are 6-volt lantern batteries. These were commonly used to power devices like lanterns, larger toys, and portable electronics. While some featured one spring terminal and one flat metal terminal, many, like the type you discussed, were distinct for having 2 spring terminals on top, with wires simply pressed onto them for connection.
So the screech was an optional feature on the Snallygaster. Claws or talons, while generally having sharp talons, some accounts specify them as steel hooks or hot glowing metal.
Well, that'll wake you up. Hooks you in the shoulder with that one.
Skin color or skin/color, leathery skin described as ranging from dark brown to yellow, occasionally darker stripes or other markings. There are some mentions of horns or spikes, a long tail, and the ability to breathe fire. And then some say that it has the ability to resist magic and regenerate.
Well, of course. Are they like Wolverine or something?
Mondo Freako.
Here's the general timeline. We've covered a lot of this already, but in the 1700s, the legend begins as German immigrants in Frederick County, Maryland, in the Appalachia area, introduced tales of the Schneller Geist.
Schneller Geist?
Which eventually evolves into Snallygaster. The 1909 media frenzy, sensational and fabricated newspaper reports of Snallygaster sightings, including alleged attacks and the discovery of barrel-sized eggs.
Ooh.
In 1932, about the same time we heard about a drowning in the vat of moonshine, somebody named Charles Maine reports seeing a flying creature with a 12 to 14-foot wingspan and octopus-like streamers flying at low altitudes over Braddock Heights, which is an area near where the rest of this has happened.
Okay.
And then after 32, there are a handful of sightings that were reported by the assistants, but they were quick to let me know that some of these sources were a little bit sketchy. So obviously, if the Snallygaster died in 32, having a sighting in 1948 where it was flying over Westminster, Maryland is questionable.
Son of Snallygaster.
Could have been sort of Snallygaster. In the 50s, a couple driving near Middletown, Maryland, reports seeing a large flying creature with tentacles and a beak diving toward their car. Now, I don't think you were born back in 1957, but if you were, you may have seen a Snallygaster-like creature reported near Arrow Point, Missouri. I don't know how close Arrow Point is to St. Louis.
I have no idea where Arrow Point is.
In 73,
I'll look it up.
More sightings emerge in Baltimore County. And then in 2002, a pilot flying over the Chesapeake Bay reports an unidentified flying creature, a UFC, with enormous wingspan and tentacle-like appendages. In 2008, somebody named Patrick Boyton publishes a nonfiction historical account, Snallygaster, The Lost Legend of Frederick County. And this is perhaps the most important one. In 2011, the annual Snallygaster Beer Festival is established in Washington, D.C. In 2017, the Snallygaster finds its way into Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
And then in 2018, a creature named Snallygaster is featured in the popular Bethesda video game Fallout 76.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then lastly, to wrap this up, here we go. Yeah, in 2021, cryptozoologist Sarah Cooper opens the American Snallygaster Museum in Libertytown, Maryland. Now, don't get too excited, listeners, about visiting said museum because the last I heard of it, it was actually located in Sarah's house.
Oh, really? Okay.
She was looking to move it elsewhere, but a lot of good reviews and apparently a good steward of the Snallygaster, the history and the accounts and whatnot.
I like her diorama of the Snallygaster demise in the vat of moonshine.
Very detailed.
Yeah.
A lot of time spent, yeah. Very detailed.
There's real moonshine in it, too. That's the fun part, yeah.
That's amazing. I heard that toward the end of that project, she kind of got a little bit overcome by the fumes and she actually passed out into the display and had to rebuild it.
Yeah.
You are listening to Mondo Freako, and you are getting very freaky.
So there we go. I know a lot more about the Snallygaster, but one thing that I thought was unusual, because we don't get a lot of mail from our listeners.
Yeah.
But some of the listeners, when they heard that we were going to do an episode on the Snallygaster, a number of them wrote in, and they're actually looking for advice from the Snallygaster.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So my thought was maybe we could dial up the equipment and use the Freako frequency to try to talk to the Snallygaster, and then we could ask the questions that the kind listeners were nice enough to send in and see if the Snallygaster might be able to help us out. I'm thinking we call this segment Dear Snally.
Dear Snally.
So if you want to stand by here, I'll get the equipment up and running.
Turn the crank.
Let's see if I can tune this thing in here.
Okay. Everything seems to be going. All the lights are on. The things that are supposed to be flashing are flashing. So that's probably a good sign.
The flashing parts are flashing.
Okay, so let's see if we could tune into the Snallygaster. The Snallygaster? Come in, Snallygaster.
Yeah, the Snallygaster.
Oh, I expected a German accent.
No, come on. I've got tentacles, for Christ's sake. I can't be so German with tentacles hanging off my neck.
So you do have tentacles. Now, that's one of the characteristics that's not always...
Well, some people call them dreadlocks. I call them tentacles, whatever.
I was telling Bob before we were able to connect with you through the Freako frequency that we've actually had some listeners writing in when they knew we were doing an episode about you. And so they're hoping for some...
pals.
Exactly, looking for life advice. Is it okay if we call you Snally?
Yeah, call me Dear Snally. Yeah.
Dear Snally. All right. First one is anonymous, and they write, Dear Snally, I'm a 39-year-old single male veterinary technician, and I'm having a hard time finding a date. My friends tell me it's because I always wear shorts, regardless of the weather or occasion, but I disagree. What advice would you give to help me find the partner of my dreams?
Maybe find somebody else wearing shorts.
Look for someone wearing shorts. That's a good idea.
Yeah, because you got shorts and you got more shorts and everybody's short.
I like it. Very sound advice.
If they're khaki, then find khaki.
Okay, Joe Beth from Washington State writes, Dear Snally, can you explain the appeal of sourdough bread? Oh, that's a good question.
Ooh, yeah. Tastes good.
It tastes good. That's the appeal of it. Fair enough.
What more do you want? It's got two parts, sour and dough. Two good things.
Two good things, sour and dough.
I'm a Snallygaster. I'm not Brainiac here.
No, I think this is exactly the kind of advice that Joe Beth was hoping for. So thank you.
Yeah, it tastes good. It's even better if somebody else pays for it.
Yeah, you probably don't have a lot saved up, right? Do you have any kind of money?
No pension plan back then. Been living on the kindness of strangers.
Obviously you didn't, or actually I don't know. Are we speaking to your ghost or are we speaking to you?
Oh no, I survived the alcohol. Yeah, I just drank my way right out of that. Those people were idiots.
You survived. Okay, so you didn't actually dissolve. All right. Last question here. Kathy from Perth, Australia. Wow. From down under. She
Isn't
wrote
that where
in
Don
and asked,
Lane had a show somewhere?
You're right. Very much in alignment with our last episode. Did you hear the last episode? I'm not sure if you're a Mondo Frico fan.
No.
Okay, no.
My ears are very small. I can barely hear you.
Fair enough. Dear Snally, given the recent and rapidly accelerating advancements in artificial intelligence, do you think there's a chance a Roomba might someday become the president of the United States?
It hadn't happened already?
It has not happened yet.
Ooh.
No, we're close.
I thought we'd already been through that phase.
No.
I thought that was W. Wasn't that a Roomba? I thought that was a brand of Roomba.
No. Oh, we're having some issues. We seem to be breaking up. Ooh.
Oh, my gosh.
Bob, I think we lost Snally. All right, so I thought what we might want to do, given the origins of the name Snallygaster, that we might want to see if we can craft our own cryptid.
Oh.
Mondo Frico artisanal small batch cryptid. These are going to be cryptids that are crafted with authentic German ingredients. So in order for that to happen, I'm going to need you to give me a couple of words.
Sure.
The first word needs to be an adjective.
Oh, Christ. I got to remember what adjective is.
Adjective, something that describes something else.
Slimy.
Slimy, good. And now I need a noun that adjective would describe.
Bowl. Slimy bowl.
Slimy bowl.
Or bowls. It could be plural.
Okay, well, that gives us, we're translating slimy bowl into German.
Schleimige Schüssel.
The schleimige Schüssel.
Schleimige Schüssel.
Say that 3 times fast.
Schleimige Schüssel. So I think we need to shorten it. Schleimige Schüssel. I think that needs to become the
Schleichel.
Oh, the Schleichel. I like that.
There you go, Schleichel.
Schleichel.
First reported by exhausted dishwashers in 1890s German-American households, the Schleichel appears as a hovering, bowl-shaped creature covered in perpetually dripping slime. Its translucent body reveals half-digested remnants of soups and stews swirling within, while small tentacle-like appendages dangle from its edges, constantly seeking new meals to absorb. The creature's distinctive wet flapping sound has been compared to a mop being wrung out by an angry ghost. Local folklore suggests the Schleichel can only be repelled by perfectly clean dishware and the sound of industrial-strength garbage disposals.
This Schleichel will fly above us. Everyone look upward, please.
We're going to open a Schleichel museum.
May the Schleichel not defecate on your face.
Unless you're into that, and it doesn't hurt anybody else.
Unless you have a green ticket, then you're okay to catch. Without payment, you must not be accepting the defecation.
This is Jonathan.
And this is Heaven from the Opa Ghost podcast.
And you're listening to Mondo Frico.
Toodles.
All right, we're into freaking A or no freaking way.
Oh my gosh. The judgment here.
You go ahead and lead this time. I'm usually the first one to give my opinion, so you go ahead.
Oh, you want me to go first? I am going to say no freaking way. I like the idea of it. Unfortunately, this is what makes cryptozoology a tough one for people, because you have these amalgams that people have made up over the years, like the Snallygaster. But it's just not... I was going to ask you, has there been any verified sighting of a Snallygaster?
when you first start looking, it does give you those sightings that I placed on the timeline, but then the assistants like to trade notes and just check to make sure that everyone did everything properly, and they are consistently flagged as there's no real verified witnesses for these. These are accounts that have been referenced in various different sources, and it's kind of like the death worm sightings.
And then the whole newspaper making up stuff.
And added to that, so this starts off as folklore that comes over from Europe with the German immigrants. And it has so many characteristics of like dragons and vampire with the blood drinking and all this stuff. It just feels like, as you put it, the amalgamation of all these different sort of folkloric entities. Now, they may be based in some sort of far-off truth and receded to the shadows during the more modern ages. But this one itself, again, given that there's been no real verified sightings of anything and even the inconsistencies of how it's viewed, I'm with you. This is my second no freaking way in a row.
Yeah, I know. For Doris Stokes.
So yeah, double no freaking way.
Yeah.
We agree once again. All right, well, that's going to bring us to the end of another exciting episode of Mondo Frico. Make sure to check out the previous episodes if you have not already. We do like to hear from listeners. I mean, my goodness, listen to the people that just happen to write in because of the Snallygaster.
Yeah, I don't even think they knew we were even here. I think they just, Snallygaster.
Dear Snally at gmail.com. I did grab that handle just so we can grab it.
Did you really?
No, I did not. Okay. All right, so definitely check out the previous episodes, rate, review, all that stuff. Well, you'll hear that in the readout, so I don't have to go through all that now. That's going to take us to the end of this episode. See you next show.
You freak.
Okay.
Is that what you wanted?
Maybe with some more gusto.
Oh, okay.
A little more schlitzel to that one. All right, everyone. See you next show.
You freak. Hey, thanks for listening to Mondo Frico. You can subscribe wherever you get podcasts, even the YouTubes. We're on all the major social media platforms, but Rob really likes Blue Sky for some reason, and I'm always posting to the Mondo Frico Facebook group.
If you like the show, leave a positive rating or review. That really helps us out. And if you want to get in touch, our contact information is in the show notes.
And be sure to tell that other weird friend you know. I bet they'd really like to listen.
See you next show.
You freak. You have no freaking clue how many hamburgers come out of one cow.
Obsequious. Do not be obsequious.
Like a slug at Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment.
So he was dragging it in the gravel alley as he's coming up to the backyard.
I did a study with 3 rats and a monkey.
You're kidding me.